dear friends, it's Carly, and welcome back to another video in this series. This one is yet another perfect example of how this series is birthing itself. As I shared with you on the Libra South Node deep dive, which was also supposed to be the Aries North Node deep dive, that would be what I would be doing next, the Aries North Node deep dive. I lied again. This is why we don't make promises here on Owning Authenticity, because you never know what the leading edge is going to be, what the next impulsive move is going to be, like when you're sitting in your bed at 11 o'clock on a Thursday morning and all of a sudden you're like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go get the clippers and I'm going to give myself a haircut over the bathroom sink. So sometimes you have to do that. And then load it full of gel just to see what would happen. And I'm like, hey, this is kind of cute. Okay, I can rock this for a minute. It grows so fast. Oh my gosh, that's the beauty. Ooh, see, look at this leading edge. I had no idea. That's the beauty of these impulsive actions and allowing our leading edge self to get to show up is that, typically, like, even though fire energy can absolutely do damage when we just, like a fire hose, like shooting it out into the world. But generally speaking, allowing our fire to bubble up and allowing our authenticity to bubble up, even if it does cause damage on the surface, one, it's going to grow back really fast. Really fast, things grow back. In the earth realm, things regenerate themselves. Almost all living creatures have some regenerative healing capacity. So even if damage is caused, number one, healing occurs. Cool. We're going to move on. Like there's going to be a next new moment and a next new moment and a next leading edge. And so, like, even if we mess it up a little bit because we, acted in the moment without thinking, like, yeah, maybe a little harm done, but like not so bad. Not so bad. It's going to grow back really, really fast. So even if you mess it up, that's okay. And number two, and for this one, I have to go to a slightly different analogy because my haircut, I really don't think is like replenishing anything. But if, like, in the springtime, I live in Kansas, and in the springtime, a lot of areas get burned off in like a controlled burn scenario. Specifically, they set fire to these pastures. I'm going to see if I can find a video of like a controlled burn. I'm sure I can. And they set fire to these pastures and they create perimeters of like burning it and putting it out so that hopefully the fire stays where it's supposed to stay. But they want that because the grass that grows up out of a burned down pasture is full of the nutrients of like the fire catalyzed the old dead grass from last season. It burned it to ashes, and those ashes put the nutrients all back into the soil. And then when the grass grew up out of that soil was now much more nourished than the soil that grew the grass last year with no burn. So, like burning it down and putting the nutrients back into the soil so that something more nutrient rich can grow up out of that ground. And I'll even tell you one extra bit is that when cattle farmers are renting pastures to like put their cattle out for the summer and let them graze and they gain weight and maybe in the fall you take them to the feedlot or whatever, maybe you take them back home, who knows, it's different for every cow. But when they're going to rent those pastures, the pastures that have been burned off and grown back are worth more money. Like they rent those pastures for more money because the nutrient rich grass is worth more, because not just because like, hey, look, we did this thing and now you're going to pay us more. No, because when the cows eat the nutrient rich grass, they put on more weight. They gain weight better on one of those pastures than they would on the regular grass that didn't get the controlled burn. And so all of that to say that, like, yes, absolutely, fire is damaging to an extent, and that sometimes that's exactly what we need. Sometimes we need a controlled burn that is going to eliminate and reduce to nutrients to fall back down into our soil. We need to eliminate the things that have, like, they lived their life in our experience and it's over now. And it's died and it's just sitting there, and then we burn it down. We eliminate it from our experience. We clear that space. And by clearing that space, doing the controlled burn of the things that are in our world that do not serve us, by doing that, we get to reabsorb the energy, and what grows out of that, it's worth more. It's it's an investment to unleash a little bit of fire from time to time. And this Aries North Node is absolutely a permission slip. It's what came to my mind. Um, and I'm going to link a video in the description that is me talking about encouragement and like what's possible when other people are encouraging you, and how that like fans the flames of what it is that you're doing, and how much of a risk are you willing to take. It's like somebody in your corner who's like, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, like you got this, like you could totally land on your feet, like of course you're going to be able to do this. Like to have somebody who believes in you, like ride or die, confident in your ability to be self sufficient, somebody like that in your corner cheering you on, that is what this Aries North Node is. And I see a lot of us taking more risks in our fire energy. And that's where I'm going to start, is like basically wanting to talk through, these nodes. Again, this none of this happens in isolation. This is also interconnected with all of the other transiting planets in the sky, right? So as the nodes make their journey, they make aspects and are having a conversation with lots of other things that are going on in the sky right now. And as the nodes make their journey through each chapter, they're also making aspects, aka having a conversation with each and every single individual's natal chart. And so I don't talk a whole lot about aspects so far and in much of my content, but that's basically what this video is going to be, is looking at not the, well, I guess technically this could be applied to the transits affecting the other transits as they come and go, but I'm not going to talk about what those might be. I am going to talk about more if, like, you have natal placements, let's say in Sagittarius, the Aries North Node transiting through that sign in Aries will at some point make an exact trine to your placement in Sagittarius. A trine is a 120-degree angle. It's like one side of a triangle trine. So like all three of the fire signs exist in, like, let's say you did have planets in all three of the fire signs and you have all three of the trines, that is a grand trine when it fully completes itself. And so what I want to talk about though is, like, if you do have planets or points in Sagittarius, if you do have planets or points in Leo, that this Aries North Node will be trining those placements at some point during this transit, during these 18 months. And so looking at that, and what is the flavor then of what this Aries North Node, Libra South Node combo is going to do to your fire signs, to your air signs, to your other cardinal signs, so that's what this video is. And there are timestamps in the description if you want to check those out. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I really appreciate it if you do. I also really appreciate you giving a like on this video and leaving some comments down below. That all of that helps to push these videos out into the universe and helps other people to find this work. So I really really appreciate all of those kinds of things, those little nudges that you give on the channel. Thank you for doing that. Um, and so, yeah, let's talk about these North and South Node combo. And as we take this, we are going to add one more element to it. And I'm going to put some sketches on the screen. You guys are going to love this. I'm such an artist. I'm going to put some sketches here so you can see where this all kind of is like coming together. Because as the Aries North Node is trining our fire signs, we will also have automatically, exactly across from the Aries North Node is the Libra South Node, and air signs make sextiles, which are 60-degree, half of the trine, 60-degree angles between the air signs and the fire signs. And both trines and sextiles have positive, supportive energy moving between those two signs. So it's kind of like you can think about like they are very much on the same page. They're very supportive of each other as far as like their overarching goal and way of getting there. Um, I still have hair on me from my haircut and now it's all itchy. Um, so they're supportive, and so those are harmonious aspects. And so these are encouraging aspects to have made. So the nodes being in Aries and Libra are encouraging any of your fire sign placements being Sag or Leo, any of your air sign placements being Gemini, Aquarius, Libra. And like, what is the overarching effect then? And so first we'll take the fire signs. So the fire signs, Sagittarius and Leo, are getting trines from the Aries North Node. Also, Leo and Sagittarius are getting sextiles from the Libra South Node. And remember, the Libra South Node is purging. It's getting rid of what no longer serves us. It's having us look at some things from our past that aren't probably how we want to do things going forward. So there's this like cleaning out the closet kind of vibe with the South Node in general. And in Libra, that's around relationships, it's around relationship patterns, and just kind of in general, how do we relate to the other? Libra very much represents the other, opposed to Aries, which represents the self. And so the South Node is purging and supporting with these sextiles towards the fire signs. And the fire signs are also getting this trine, this like burst of energy. Trines are definitely more powerful as far as how much of Aries North Node energy is able to come into Sagittarius. Like I would say you're able to get a whole lot wider pipeline of energy from Aries to Sag with a trine versus the pipeline of energy with a sextile is just smaller. So like the Libra energy coming into the Sagittarius placements, it's just not as big of a like conductor, the sextile, versus the trine. You're getting a lot of energy moving back and forth. And so really mixing those. And so, yeah, the fire sign placements. And again, I'm very excited because I have placements in late Leo and late Sag. So that means early in the Aries North Node because it's entering at the end, the 2959 mark. Very early in the Aries North Node transit, I'm having these trines to my 29-degree Sag, Uranus, and Saturn, and my 24-degree Leo moon. And so I'm excited to see what exactly is going to play out. But here are a couple things that I think, yeah, I have two that I think are going to be like the effect, the energetic effect of this transit, this Aries North Node talking to Sag and Leo, while the Libra South Node is also having its own kind of conversation with Sag and Leo. And like I said, I think the Aries North Node is like that friend in your corner who's like, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And I'm telling you, the things that we are capable of when we are being flat out encouraged, openly, somebody fanning the flames of us doing what it is that we want to do, the likelihood of us doing that goes up significantly. So I see this as like kind of the Aries North Node, almost like the controlled burn, is on the roof of what it is that you're currently allowing your fire energy to be in your life. Like the Aries North Node comes through and like burns open the ceiling. And then the Sag Leo combo placements are like, hey, we can get bigger now. So I think there's gonna be just like a general expansion, and the more fire energy you have in general, Aries, Sag, or Leo, like just this eruption of the beautiful divine spark of life that you are, aka your fire energy, the part of you that is so unique and is so creative and effortlessly flowing through us all the time, this leading edge that we don't have to try. We don't have to be anything. There's no target, there's no bullseye. There's like no script, there's no recipe. We just be it. We just do what feels right to us. Like with this haircut, like the only reason I have this specific haircut was because the part that was bothering me about my hair before was the part that was like on my ears, and I just freaking hated that. I needed it off my ears. And so I just take the clippers and go choo, 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 and just like get it off my ears. That's all I needed. I needed it to be off my ears. That's why I have this haircut. And then the gel was like, it's friggin' 117% humidity outside and my hair gets real frizzy. And so that's like, again, like I'm okay, taming the frizz and fluff or whatever. And then I'm like, whoa, look at this. If we just follow what's natural to us, like, I don't want my hair on my ears. Okay, then get your hair off your ears. It's that simple. Like there is no, like I was talking about in the Libra South Node deep dive about, kind of scratching the surface on indecisiveness and cracking the code on how to be decisive. You just be. You just get the hair off your ears. The second thing is the Libra South Node, and kind of like to support this burning off the roof and to support our Sag and Leo placements growing in their competence to get bigger and take up more space and possibly do more damage out in the world in like a bigger controlled burn kind of way, um, the confidence to do that is supported by this Libra South Node and its sextiles by basically presenting us with other that makes it easier. It makes it easier, this version of the other, to have fire because we can no longer stand it in our soul to harmonize with that other. Like, I see a whole lot more, you know, just not being willing to play nice, not like seeing the damage that fire can do, yes, but the damage that playing nice and condoning awful behavior because I'm not willing to rock the boat, so we're just going to harmonize with the status quo. He's being, I can't even believe this, but conflict is bad. And I need to keep the peace and like I want to be a nice person. And any of that exists within us, like that is the roof. That is the limit to what we are currently allowing our fire to be. So this Libra South Node, Aries North Node is the controlled burn that is burning off that roof. It's facing and eliminating the fears of, I don't want to make other people mad at me. Facing and eliminating the previous limitations of what's appropriate, what's acceptable, what's respectful of another person, what's kind, what's loving. Like, at what point is it loving to go along with something that you believe to be incredibly harmful? At what point is it more loving to attack the harmful thing and be like, no, this is wrong. And I'm going to speak up. I'm not going to be quiet about how wrong I think this is. This is not good. And how many people at that point, this is like the encourager, right? This is the Aries North Node in the corner of the Sag and Leo placements going like, do it, do it, do it, do it. Because when you start saying these things, when you start burning brighter in your own fire, those sparks fly off and they catch other people's fire. And, some people who I feel like kind of every time is this in in a way, as far as like burning the roof off of what we were, and like we get bigger by developing into our North Node. But like, I feel like there are times where, and it's not all at once. That's a good way to say it. It's not all at once, where maybe the burn that you do because of whatever experience it is that you're running into, it burns like this little hole, and it's like, whoa, yeah, that is more open, and I can kind of like start exploring up out of this space. But then the fire kind of goes out and it only gets this big, and then you run into the next experience and it like lights it again, and like, whoa. Whoa, wow, yeah, really, oh my gosh. And so like that process goes and goes and goes and goes. And so because we have the South Node in Libra, what are the themes of what's going to be bringing this to us? The other, a reprehensible other, just makes your skin crawl other that will absolutely inspire us to get with the program and devote our life force energy to fighting for what we believe to be good and right, and to trust in what we know to be good and right, and to burn the roof off of going along with the majority. Like, nobody else seems to have a problem, so I guess I'll just like let this go. Like, that's a scary slippery slope if we're all doing that. So who's gonna say something that lets all the rest of us know that we're all thinking the same freaking thing and that this is freaking nuts? Like, somebody has to say something. Somebody has to start it. And that cardinal fire of Aries, the beginning of a fire, again, it comes through friction. And so even though Aries energy is all about the self, who is going to bring this to us? The other. And how is it going to start this fire that burns our roof off? Through the friction of rubbing up against the reprehensible other. And I tell you all of this not to be like, get ready, it's a shitstorm and we're all going to be miserable. Like, definitely not. Take that anger and channel it in a way that is you being the CEO of your life experience. If you think people shouldn't stay quiet, then start a YouTube channel and start telling your story. If you think that people should, you know, be more involved at the federal government level, then go to Washington. Go to Washington and meet with your Congress people. Like, if you, what is it? What is it that you think people should do? And then you do that. And our anger is a beautiful alert system that lets us know we think they're doing it wrong. We think they are doing it very wrong. And so that is your case study. What pisses you off? What gets the friction? What gets the sparks going? What makes you so angry? That's your case study. That person is showing you the exact opposite of who you are. They're giving you the best possible mirror ever to figure out, okay, so then who am I? Right? That's that Aries energy of self-discovery. Who am I? Being able to say, I am this, and to mean it and be confident in it, and to lean into it, to be able to bet on that, to be able to bet on, I can do this, right? Like, as an entrepreneur, like what this reminds me of, as an entrepreneur, opening your first business, right? Like, to be a business person with no business experience, no experience running a business. How do you get experience running a business? You have to open one with never having done it before, with reasonable confidence that I can do this, I think, right? I have enough confidence that I'm tipping into a place where I am going to put myself as a brand new beginner into this situation because this is who I think I am. And through that experience, I'm going to have it confirmed to me that not only am I a business person, but at this stage in the game, a couple days ago, I was on a Zoom with a group of people working on a project. And I wrote the business plan for the group, and then we were talking to the people who are doing the financial projections. And the guy who does the financial projections, he's like, "Well, Carly's the business consultant, so let's have her weigh in here." And then he stops talking and is like looking at me, waiting for me to speak as the business consultant. And I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm a business consultant." Like, what? When did that happen? It was like a whole moment of like burning the roof off of who you thought you were. and being able to see like, oh my God, I'm definitely more than I knew I was. And this Aries North Node transit is going to be like one giant like experience after experience after experience of the roof coming off and having a new awareness around I am. So that's the effect on Sag Leo, is that it's like gasoline on the fire that you already have, and it's big. Let's go now to the air placements, so Gemini and Aquarius, and what effect are they going to have on them? Because for air placements, Gemini, Aquarius, they have the bigger pipeline, the trines, with the Libra South Node. So they're getting more energy from the Libra South Node, and then they have sextiles, those smaller pipelines of energy coming to Gemini and Aquarius from the Aries North Node. So still a little bit of supportive energy, but not near like what they're receiving from that Libra South Node. That's definitely the bigger one. And so again, we're going to be really looking at the limits to our curiosity, to our perspective, to our questions, to our thoughts and ideas, to our identities. And we're going to be exploring what those limits are made of. Libra South Node. I'll bet they're made of fear of social rejection. They're made of, we are playing politics. We are trying to be liked. We are, in it to win it. We're trying to win the popularity contest. And while you're doing that, while you're running for Miss America, that is an impossible stage to let your authentic mind roam free. Aquarius is incredibly free spirited. Do not tell them what to do. They'll go in the opposite direction just to prove to you that you can't tell them what to do. And Gemini is curious, endlessly curious. And putting a limit on those things, you think about like, in order for a fire to take and grow, there needs to be some air, but not too much at the wrong times. Like if you have wind and you're trying to get a spark to catch on to whatever, like the wind keeps blowing out the spark because the spark is just little. And like that's what this Aries North Node, Libra South Node is. It's like kind of a wind block in some ways for Aries energy, that initial spark to get big enough. And that bigger spark is going to catch more fires in Sagittarius and Leo. And like meanwhile in the air signs, it's this wind block slash like one of those things where you're like pumping the air into the fire. I don't know what it's called, doesn't matter. But like both. Like it's it's a protective emotional detachment at times, like that wind block that's like letting the outside world be whatever it wants because like it doesn't affect me personally. Like, an emotional attachment in its highest frequency is a beautiful thing. But at the same time, kind of like the fire can only get so big without breaking out into the open. And like there's a roof on that Libra South Node. There's a roof on what we are allowing ourselves to be at this time. And so part of like the fire burning brighter, it's just gonna like the wind block that is these trines of the Libra South Node going to Gemini and Aquarius to say like, guys, like I think we're holding back a little too much. Like I think we're like kind of at a loss with how to even harmonize with this other one because it goes so against who I am. Like my identity feels like it cannot merge with whatever this other is. It feels restrictive to my open Gemini curiosity. It feels restrictive to my identity. And those trines from Aquarius and Gemini to that Libra South Node, they're begging for freedom. They're begging for freedom. And so that is just like stoking that Libra South Node end, which is allowing the Aries North Node end to burn brighter. And through all of that, just experience after experience after experience of the roof coming off what we are allowing ourselves to be at this time. So I see like controversial curiosity, like rising to the surface and busting through, controversial viewpoints and ideas where that would be the part that Libra South Node isn't going to let you go there because you can't rock the boat. Well, what if you could rock the boat? What if that was allowed? What then? What then do you think? What then are you curious about? What then do you want to say? Like there's gonna be some of that, and I see that as like, Aries being ruled by Mars, Gemini being ruled by Mercury, Mars sextiling Mercury, like getting each other going is like controversial viewpoints, controversial things that you're saying out loud, and you're rocking the boat, in a good way, in a controlled burn. We need to reabsorb these nutrients kind of way. I also see where the South Node trining Mercury could have us reviewing our mental filter. It could also, like the South Node trining Uranus in the Aquarius rulership side, and Saturn as the traditional ruler. um, I see those as having us reviewing our mental filter, our um, the filter through which we relate to our own authentic self. Like Aquarius, like in Uranus, there's our pure individuality. There's our fully self actualized self at the highest frequency of Aquarius and Uranus. And then Saturn, the side of it, is like the tradition and the expectation and the status quo, the like social norms, basically. And so, like in the lowest frequency of Aquarius, we are allowing ourselves to go with the flow of what other people want. And so, having those sextiles from Aries, the Aries North Node sextiling any Aquarius placements, sextiling the Gemini placements, like really stoking the freedom seeking, like no longer willing to be contained by the playing nice with the other who wants ridiculously crazy things compared to what I want. Like I don't think I have to go along with that. I think I'm going to ask my question, and if he doesn't want to answer it, I'm going to rephrase it into, no, I need the answer to this question. Otherwise, like I don't know how we can make this work. I don't know how to harmonize with this. Like I feel like the Libra South Node in general forces harmony for harmony's sake. Ooh, yeah, yeah, that's a big piece of it. Forcing harmony for harmony's sake. And I feel like this entire cycle is letting us embrace a little bit more conflict, a little bit more confrontation. And again, of course, anything can play out in lots of different frequencies. These aren't predictive. This is just potential. So like if you're really struggling, this could look like lashing out aggressively at the people around you, or, like I said, if you're channeling it in a constructive, productive, controlled burn kind of way, like let me reabsorb the nutrients of this anger and let me redirect it into who am I in this world and let me take up more space. Like I don't like the way they're doing it, but I don't run that YouTube channel. I run this one. And so let me take up more space with what I think is right and what I think feels good. I also see how this configuration of the air signs really funneling energy into that Libra South Node and vice versa, and then the support from the Aries North Node of that like individual raw primal spark. I see this healing social anxiety. How good does that sound? I know it sounds good to me. Of not worrying so much about harmonizing with the other. And I think to some extent, social anxiety is one of the lowest frequencies of Libra. It's like you're so desperate. Apologize for the harsh word there, but I'm not going to hide it because we need to understand we're so desperate to harmonize with the other that we are so guarded against our authenticity accidentally spilling over in some kind of unapproved way that we are stifling and suffocating the fire within us. And this suffocation of our fire can be felt as social anxiety. I like I've said many times around the concept of fun and like the concept of enjoying our life experience, like someone who's enjoying themselves is not impatient, is not looking around them to see what are other people thinking, what are you doing, what's going on in your experience. Like, you're very much living from inside your identity, your curiosity, your awareness and presence and observation of this moment. Like, there's nothing to harmonize with anyone. And I think social anxiety is when we get too tipped into the side of Libra and the shadow of Libra, where that's how we're determining if we're having fun and being successful in this interaction, is if we're able to attain and maintain a certain level of rapport with the other. And letting go of that will heal social anxiety. Being rooted in your fire, your awareness, your identity, knowing who you are. Like, there was a quote that I found at the very beginning of my self awareness journey that preceded my spiritual journey, um, very beginning, that just landed at the core of what I now understand to be my Taurus energy and my values, was when you walk into a room, instead of worrying if other people are going to like you, try worrying about, or like thinking about, if you're going to like them. Like, you have power in all moments, and it is found inside your fire energy. Like, that is very much like our ego strength, our ego power that like knows we are good just because we exist. So, like, that Libra energy of needing to harmonize with the other before we can feel like we're at equilibrium, we're bringing that equilibrium point inside of ourselves through this transit. And I think all of the air and fire signs are lit up, are activated anytime the nodes go through one of the masculine, aka fire and air combos. Just like in this, last cycle of Taurus Scorpio, all the water and earth signs got these transits. So, we could also look back, you could kind of back it up a little bit and talk about it in a very similar way as far as, the South Node end was in water. So the water signs were getting the trines and the sextiles from the earth signs. And then flip it, for the earth signs, we're getting the trines from the North Node going through Taurus. So, like, really exaggerating our earth energy, like really just grounding us into the right here, right now moment, and the security, the well being of that. And this going forward, um, I see it as, yeah, like the next level of burning the roof off of who we are currently allowing ourselves to be. And even though it may appear like that is causing a little bit of damage in the world around you, one, it'll grow right back. And two, we need to reabsorb these nutrients. It's time. It's time to reabsorb these nutrients. In general, I think because our masculine energy is being lit up, Aries and the ruler Mars both have an ability to mobilize. Like, it's a very action oriented sign. That's what it wants, is to charge forward, to like ram forward. Um, so with the mobilization of our air energy and our fire energy, um, and coming off of this last feminine cycle of Taurus North Node, where we know our values more precisely than we ever have at any moment in the past. And we know what's truly important to you. Not because anybody told you that's what's important, but because you can feel it in your body. It relaxes your body. It lets you feel safe and secure in this world when you hear these thoughts, when you hear these ideas, when you have this particular value satisfied, then I feel like I'm at equilibrium. And we are coming out of that cycle into this masculine cycle of mobilizing our values out into the world, taking up space, using those values, using whatever it is that you think is beautiful and you love it and you think it adds a positive, uplifting element to, I'm talking about Venus and Taurus, like, it adds a positive, uplifting contribution to the culture of the world around you, while, this is most important, this is core of Taurus energy, while bringing you peace and comfort at the same time. So, whatever that is for you, and we've been studying it during the last 18-month cycle of the Taurus North Node, whatever that is for you, now here we go into a masculine cycle of mobilizing our authentic self, mobilizing ourselves onto the planet. Again, not to fight it out with other people, but to simply be, to plant our flag in the ground, to start our YouTube channel, to launch our blog, to get out there and be who it is that you think people should be. You know, like I think about the guy who moved to like a remote island and has planted maybe even tens of thousands of trees in his lifetime, and like nobody even caught on that he was doing this till like 20 years later. You know, like I have a lot of Gemini influence, and like so communication tends to be where I go with things, but you could just as easily like move out into the middle of the woods because you believe that people shouldn't, you know, be consuming off of the electrical grid, and we shouldn't be doing industrial agriculture, or like whatever your beliefs are. Like instead of, you know, bombing and protesting industrial agriculture sites, go live in the forest. Go live off the land. You do it. If that's what you think that we should be doing, then you go do it. And so whether that is telling other people what you're doing or not with Aries energy is definitely does not have to be part of it. It's mostly just the act of actually being it. Um, and what I want to say to summarize this point of like mobilizing your authentic self is this is for the good of the all. Like if you go back to the 300,000-foot view of these cycles, like we're growing into this North Node conjunct Pluto in Aquarius moment that's happening later in the 2020s. And at that point, we will get to see, we will get to understand how our authentic self serves the highest good of the all. It's like freaking ridiculous how us doing exactly down to a T what works for us as an individual is what's in the best interest of the highest good of the all, right? Like you're automatically serving your own highest good by doing what's in your own best interest. And by serving your own highest good, that is how you serve the highest good of the all. Is that you give yourself permission to be your authentic self, aka you automatically sign a permission slip for every other person around you to be their authentic self. This is what is in the highest good of the all, the self-empowerment of the individual, the mobilization of the authentic self of the individual. And so exciting. Um, so the last one, the last one that I'm going to go through as far as like how these aspects are lighting up, you know, your natal chart, and if they do happen to make any transits as they go along here. The last one I want to talk about is like when we'll always have this grand cross. And a grand cross is when you have 4 squares. And when you have 4 squares, that means you also have 2 oppositions. And so the North Node, South Node is always an opposition. And so no matter what sign, um, no matter what sign the nodes are in, or what signs, they will always, at some point, not always, mostly, make a grand cross while they're in their signs doing their thing. And so this would be like if you have Cancer and Capricorn placements in your natal chart, you will have, especially if they're exactly opposite each other, which I'm picturing one of my clients right now who was born on a full moon of like Sun in Cancer, Moon in Capricorn, that are almost exact. And so, like in that example, the Aries South Node, Libra North Node, they will come into an exact grand cross. In this case, because we're in Aries and Libra, Cancer, Capricorn, it'll be a cardinal grand cross, meaning you have energy flowing through all 4 of the cardinal signs. Yeah, so when that happens, squares, uh, so like the Aries North Node, for example, would be squaring Cancer and Capricorn, while the Libra South Node is also squaring Cancer and Capricorn. So like, unlike the supportive, harmonious elements where it differed, right? We had the air South Node trining the air signs, and and then the fire North Node was sextiling the air signs. Like, this is two squares onto Capricorn placements, two squares onto Cancer placements. And so from both sides, from both sides, you're getting it. And a square is what's called a tense aspect, or like, it adds tension into the mixture. Oppositions are the other ones, and these are also referred to as hard aspects. Um, I don't, I am a big believer, this is a very strongly held belief for me, that, you know, harmonious is actually the weaker link, and the tense ones are actually the stronger placements, even though they're harder to work with, because they challenge each other. They they demand the best possible collaboration of the parts and pieces. While, like, let's say, especially a grand trine, if you have that in your natal chart, um, I have one, but it's so close to the ends of the signs that one placement is in earth while the other two are in fire. So my grand trine is 2 parts fire, 1 part earth. And so I think that kind of saves me from some of this, but I can still see where it happens, where you get kind of like a reinforcement thing, where on the encouragement side, that can be a breath of fresh air, especially when it's a transit that you don't have all the time. That's like a breath of fresh air of encouragement, like, you can do this, like, move forward, you got this. And like, that can be really good for growth. But the problem is, especially if you have it in your natal chart where you're carrying this energy all the time, it's like they reinforce each other in their shadows just as much as it can be in the light. And so you can get kind of like reinforcing bad behavior, reinforcing, the shadow that they all have in common. They agree on that. They think it's okay to burn a little bit of stuff out in the world. And so if you get a little too much encouragement, you lose track of the air signs and the feminine signs. At that point, like, yeah, you're definitely doing damage. And this grand trine is just going to let it keep happening. Like, it sees no issue. It's like, burnt, so what? We're reabsorbing nutrients, man. Like, we're doing good work here. So you can take it too far, basically, with the grand trine. Like, it can be a little too harmonious to where nobody realizes this is not okay. Nobody's throwing up the red flag. Like, hey, what are we doing here? Why are we doing this? So again, going back to the squares and the hard aspects, this is like a check. This is a coming face to face with, it can be neutral. So it can be coming face to face with an equal opposite who sees things completely differently than you do, and who has something to say that you personally may not have come to on your own. And that's not to say, right? Because we're in the Aries North Node. So that's not to say that, like, oh, you have to do it like they told you to do it. It's like, no, that's great information to have, especially when it's a transit. Again, you're not carrying this energy all the time. So it's a passing through of that grand cross coming through your chart, as far as, like, working with the oppositions that you have in Cancer and Capricorn. So those squares are going to possibly ask some tough questions. But the result is that Cancer Capricorn can be even more effective at the end of that. And let me make the case for that, as Cancer and Capricorn are an extremely nurturing sister sign pair. Even Capricorn and all its harshness and whatever, it's doing that through a mechanism of, like, I believe that this is best for you. I believe that, me nurturing you is me pushing you to get a job so that you can learn responsibility and, like, make your own money. Like, that's how a Capricorn nurtures, versus a Cancer is like, come sit on my lap and I'll hold you. You need both. And I'm a big believer. You need some of both of those. Um, but they do it very differently. But they share that like, everything they do is to nurture the growth of whatever it is that they're trying to raise. And so whether that's a business or your child or a creative endeavor, you're nurturing it, you're trying to grow it. And so if this Aries North Node, Libra South Node can show up in your life and give you a reflection or some insight that can help you nurture even better. You know, like imagine telling the cattle farmer, like, hey, guess what? If you burn this pasture first, then the grass is more nutrient rich and your cattle, they'll grow faster, healthier, stronger. Their immune systems will be better, so you'll have to medicate them less. Like, there's all of these different benefits for being an even more effective nurturer if you consider this slight update to how you're doing things. And so, again, it's not for anybody to ever tell us what to do or how to do it, but there can be moments where we interact with someone with a completely different perspective. And what we walk away with is like, wow, this little nugget out of what they just said, like, I'm going to apply it over here and bam, now my cattle grow faster. My thing that I'm trying to grow, like it's shooting up and it's so leafy and robust and it's putting off fruit already. Like, like watching it come to life. Like that's what Cancer Capricorn wants to watch it grow and become its own thing. And the nurturing elements of those energies can be fueled with a little bit of tension from this Aries Libra. And, we're still in the vibe of you be your authentic self more. That's what they're going to say. And so what that could look like, let's say you're at a work situation where you have this sense that the manager is mistreating this other employee. And you have seen this behavior, but like it's really not my place. And like he's the boss, and this other employee doesn't seem to mind. And so I'm just going to like mind my business. That's Libra South Node. That's like keeping the peace to keep the peace. And so what happens when the Aries North Node, Libra South Node comes along and starts talking to this Cancer Capricorn opposition? It's like, why are you not standing up for them? You can see it's wrong. Like, no, they're not saying that it bothers them, but you know what that is. You see them shrink. You see, like, what effect this is having on them. This is not constructive. And I'm not saying you even have to go blow up at the manager, but maybe, make a stand of some kind to take the manager aside and, like, figure out something to say. Take a risk on behalf of the nurturing of the people around you. Like, why are you letting that go on? That's damaging. That's destructive. Why are you condoning this? Why are you staying silent about this? And so again, we don't have to act in pure fiery fashion. Like we don't have to explode or, detonate an atomic bomb at work or like blow up on our manager in front of everybody. Like none of that is what I'm saying, but I do think that the conviction to stand up for what you know is true and what you can feel to be true and to protect and, stand between the aggressor and the one that's being aggressed. Like just because they're not standing up for themselves, like make a stand and look to them like, dude, if call me off here if you need, like if you're good with this, like I guess I can back away, but like dude, like you cool? Like what? I was talking to somebody the other day who was telling me about their son who's like 22, and I just am floored and impressed. If he gives a workshop, I want to be there because I'm like, whoa, that's amazing conviction in this kind of way where, and I wonder, maybe he has like this kind of Aries squaring Cancer Capricorn kind of energy. I don't know. But like what you get out of that is somebody who can feel, who is intuitively connected to the feelings of the space of whatever they're in. And so he's in line at the convenience store. It's not even his turn. Somebody else is up at the register and the cashier person is running into trouble with like what they're doing. They can't figure it out. And so they holler at the manager person to like come over here and help them out. And the manager person starts like really talking down to the cashier person like, gosh, you can't get anything right. And like, didn't we talk about this already? And like, what are you even doing? Why would you push that? That's not the right one. And like just like having it out on this employee. And the kid, the 22-year-old kid, steps forward and is like, ma'am, what is your problem? Excuse me? Why are you talking to them like that? And like got in between them. Like the cashier didn't say anything, like acted more than anything like this probably happens all the time. And the kid could not take it, could not stand to see someone treat someone like that, could not stand to watch the person shrink under the ice cold, destructive energy that this boss was giving them. And so he stood in front and was like, no, you deal with me. What are you doing? Why are you talking to them like that? Like, oh my God, like what I hope, I hope I would be able to muster that kind of strength of conviction to stand up for the nurturing of others around me. And yeah, kudos to him. So I really hope you've enjoyed this look at how these Aries, the Aries North Node and the Libra South Node are going to be activating our natal charts in all kinds of different ways. You may have planets or points in all of these areas that we just talked about. And so there's a lot to unpack. I do offer individual sessions. I don't do very many just because I do other things also. But you're more than welcome to check out my site. And if you have any questions, you can always email me at owningauthenticity@gmail.com and get some, I wouldn't say help, but like just get a reflective space where possibly we can unpack and unravel the pieces of what is going on in your unique energy and get some clarity on each of the pieces and then possibly like, start putting it all back together to like, okay, so like what do I do with this? What does this mean? Aries North Node, what does this mean about who I am? Right? Like, I won't have those answers, but I'm a very curious person and I like to understand and I like to get to the bottom of things. So I'm good at asking questions and helping to illuminate the parts that maybe we need to think some more about this or how does that impact this piece and like bring this piece back into it. So what does that mean about this? Those can be really eye-opening conversations. And if that's something you're interested in, I do provide those services. So feel free to check out that link in the description. I also, on a not so personal one-on-one basis, I also host a spiritual conversation once a month in my sacred circle over on my Patreon. You can join the Patreon for whatever feels good to you. The price is set, it's open, as little as $1, as much as you want. And that gets you access to the Zoom that I do once a month where we come together and have kind of an overarching themed conversation that reflects the energy of the moment. So we do pull in astrology a lot of times, but it's not a purely astrological conversation. It really runs the gamut of life and like kind of depends on whoever's there that day. So that information is down there. There will be more videos in this series. Who the hell knows what the next one's going to be? I'm not even going to promise you what it is because I probably don't even know yet. But until next time, I do hope that you take such good care of the beautiful being that you are, and so will I.